Do you feel like your partner just doesn't like you, no matter how nice you are to them? Do they seem really eager to please everyone else, and you feel so confused because you see this really nice part of them? If you're feeling this way, you might be dealing with a closet narcissist. Today I'm going to be talking about why this is so hard for you to come to terms with and why you're not wrong for feeling so alone in your relationship. I'll be sharing the 5 signs of a fragile closet narcissist. I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist. If you'd like to be notified every time I post a new video, be sure to hit subscribe and click like so that you can keep up on all of my most recent videos. And just know that there is a link in the description so that you can set up a complimentary consultation with me if you desire. First, I want to say that narcissism really exists on a full spectrum. There isn't any one behavior or one list of behaviors that is concrete whether someone is or isn't a narcissist. But the confusing reality is that some of the most covert behaviors can actually be the most damaging because they are more confusing and they're harder to spot. So who is a closet narcissist? Well, just think, hello, Mr. Nice Guy. First off, you need to know that they are not that in-your-face, obvious, arrogant person that a lot of times narcissists are described as. They're seemingly down to earth. And actually, they're really quite helpful to a lot of people in their sphere of influence. But they aren't always so helpful to their spouse. And when they are, they don't do it regularly and they don't do it adequately. They don't do a job to completion and it's kind of halfway. Most people in their life just think this person is the greatest, the sweetest, the most fun, the best person ever. But deep down, they're actually very empty. They leave their partner with an overwhelming and regular feeling of coldness and disconnection. They really look to other people to fill them up, to keep them company, to be their source. Not just a source of drama, but their source of everything. But don't be fooled. They want to do what they want to do. They don't really care about other people's interests or thoughts. They just want to do what they want to do, and they're willing to bring people along so that they're not alone doing it, but they're not exactly flexible, especially when it comes to their spouse. So let's talk about what the biggest traits of the closet narcissist are. Of course, this list isn't exhaustive, but they're really good things that can be focused on to indicate whether or not that's actually who you're dealing with. The first one, they are hypersensitive. They take offense to any kind of perceived criticism from their spouse. They will verbally attack at any suggestion that they may perceive as someone requesting something different from them or any kind of improvement. This can play out anywhere from them being completely stonewalling to their partner and really cold, to verbal attacks, underhanded comments, projections, all kinds of things. They'll project, they'll blame, they'll create chaos, all in an attempt to get the spotlight off of them and any perceived flaw in them. They'll flip it around and remind their spouse of all the things they've done for them and how ungrateful their spouse is, getting the focus again off of themselves. This leaves their partner feeling really confused about whether they did something wrong or not, and just unsure about what is actually going on because it feels like it's out of nowhere and it feels very uncalled for considering what they said. This kind of coldness, this disdain for their partners, it's so heavy. You can feel it in the air between you. And it's truly an abusive behavior, especially when it's a common occurrence. Now, the second big sign is them withholding affection. They withhold the full responsibility of carrying the weight that they would need to carry around the house or in just this relationship dynamic as an adult. They won't do things to help you out, and they won't do tasks that would just be normal for any adult to do. And they withhold that part of their behavior, but mostly they withhold by acting resentful toward their partner without even saying it out loud. Distant, ignoring, not making eye contact, not answering questions, not even answering when they are spoken at, like their partner is invisible somehow. They can sulk around, and they can even act like the partner isn't the one that's helping them enough, like they're being somehow neglected and dumped on, when in reality they really aren't. So the partner tries harder, tries to be nicer, tries to communicate clearer, tries to over-explain. And in the end, all of that trying is for nothing, because they just end up feeling more and more hated by the closet narcissist. And it's hard to put your finger on. It's confusing because this closet narcissist is really nice to other people and then sometimes nice to them, but that scale is so off balance that they have just an overall feeling of being disliked or even hated by their partner. The third sign is a negative narrative about their partner. And this negative narrative is not justified. But the thing is that it allows them to feel justified about the way they're treating their partner. Every time their partner fails to read their mind, fails to agree with them in something, or has something else going on or is preoccupied when they demand their attention, this just solidifies this negative narrative they have running in their head that has probably been there before they ever met their partner, but they keep adding to it. It's like this closet narcissist is just seething on the inside about their partner, and they're just adding to that mental list of all the reasons they're justified in acting however they want to them, because after all, they believe they are some kind of victim. Deep down, they know that they are a fake in so many ways, and they just refuse to look at it. They want to cover their eyes and plug their ears and never, ever, ever look at it. The fourth sign is passive aggressiveness. Now, everyone can be passive aggressive from time to time, and the more emotionally mature you become, the less passive aggressive you'll behave. But this kind of person takes passive aggressive to a whole new level. This fragile narcissist rarely, if ever, shows genuine interest in anything that their partner is into or interested in. They lose interest very quickly whenever the topic isn't something they are interested in or that they brought up. So what happens is they conveniently find a way to punish their partner for taking the attention away from them. They might know that the partner had something important planned, and they purposely go ahead and make other plans during that same time, acting like they just didn't know it was just a mistake. But when you look at the patterns, you can see that this is a purposeful behavior and it's passive aggressive. Then, if they concede and cancel their plans to go to this special event with the spouse that was already arranged and set up, then they act like their spouse really owes them, is really indebted to them, and they just went out of their way to accommodate, when in reality it was something that they had already agreed to, and they're the ones that messed it up by making other plans at the same time. So when they're playing this victim like they're suffering for the sake of their spouse, they're really implying that their spouse just doesn't appreciate them, and they're really playing up that victim role. So there's definitely a pattern of them just forgetting about commitments in order to do something else that they would prefer to be doing more. And if the spouse ever tries to hold them accountable for this behavior, they'll accuse their spouse of being far too demanding, way too rigid, and unappreciative. And the fifth point, which is probably the most important, is they have no empathy. They're very poor listeners. And if they deem the conversation as boring or uninteresting, then they have this internal belief like it's beneath them because it wasn't their choosing. They didn't choose the topic or they didn't want to engage there. And this is something you can notice especially with a spouse, but even sometimes in a setting with other people where they can put on a good show, but they tend to pull away from people who don't let the focus be on them, and they get very tired of those people very quickly. They exist with a sense of entitlement, and the entitlement shows in everything they don't do and everything they expect others to just do for them, or they delegate out, but not necessarily in a healthy way, things that should be their responsibility that they will not be responsible for. Their lack of ability to deeply emotionally connect leaves their partner feeling starved and truly emotionally injured in the relationship that is supposed to be the closest relationship in their life, the one where they can openly share with each other and be vulnerable. But it doesn't happen in these relationships. The moment the spouse shares their true feelings with this closet narcissist, they accuse their spouse that's trying to genuinely share their feelings of all kinds of things. They say how offensive it is and how hurt they are and how dare they, and they start with their projections. And the spouse is just calmly, gently trying to be understood and validated. But this is a threat to the closet narcissist because the truth is that they don't have any empathy. They can't put themselves in their spouse's shoes. They can't see from a differing perspective. They aren't introspective. They simply do not live in reality. Their internal negative dialogue kicks in and they just mentally check out of anything that would require empathy. So what can you do about it? Well, you might end up feeling like this closet narcissist is a really nice person, but they just don't like you. The truth is, their behavior would be just like this regardless of who their intimate partner was. Trust me, I have heard from spouses that have been married at different times to the same closet narcissist, and the stories are the same. They treated their partner at different times in their life the same way, even though the tactics might have been a little bit different depending on what one person would or wouldn't tolerate or would or wouldn't react to, but the behavior patterns were still present. So the truth is that it's not about them not liking you. It's about them doing this to whoever they're with. The closet narcissist can actually end up having really long marriages too. And the reason for this is because the pattern is so hard to identify and it's so confusing. And oftentimes the spouse just keeps trying harder, thinking they don't have a justifiable enough reason to leave because of the inconsistency. And because they never want to paint themselves as the bad one that actually gave up and got divorced, they just stay. The partner is the one that has to decide enough is enough, and that it's not true that they just don't like the partner. This is a fundamental character flaw in the closet narcissist. But the good news is there is hope. You can peel back the layers of damage done by the closet narcissist in order to get back to your truest self. When you're able to recognize these false belief systems that kept you stuck with this closet narc, you're able to see reality more clearly. That's when you're more easily able to just wipe away those inner doubts, all of that confusion, and make a decision from a place of clarity. Hypnosis is the most rapid way for people to get to that point of clarity because they can peel back those layers, reframe those core beliefs that were keeping them stuck in the first place, and see clearly and finally have the empowerment and confidence that they truly need to make a wise decision. Knowing that you are allowed to choose a different life for yourself is incredibly powerful. You don't have to condemn yourself to a lifetime of regret. You can make a choice to do things things differently. The blueprint for our life is really stored in the subconscious mind, and that blueprint is written between the ages of birth and around the age of 7. And so there's a lot of core belief systems that maybe aren't formulated from a viewpoint of discernment and maturity. And so when you have a hypnosis process that allows you to get to the root of the issue, which is the core belief that needs to be reframed, you can find freedom so much more quickly. And that's what I do. I help people find the freedom that they need to make decisions from a place of clarity, so they don't have to be in confusion and they can actually trust themselves again. When you're finally ready to break free from this cycle and find your confidence again, check out the link in my description. You can set up a totally free consultation call so that we can see if we're a good fit to work together and that you can decide whether or not you're really ready to take your life back. Because the truth is, when you change yourself, you change the world. Until next time, curate a life by your own design.